Published, 3,100 Women, One Broken Heart, the real story behind Julio's legend. They said he loved 3,000 women. The tabloids screamed it. The gossip columns built empires on it. Julio Iglesias, the man with the velvet voice and bedroom eyes, became a legend not just for his music, but for a number that seemed impossibly romantic, impossibly scandalous. 3,100 women. But what if the biggest lie wasn't the exaggeration? What if it was the idea that any of it mattered? Madrid, 1971. The city hummed with Franco's dying regime, and Julio was just another singer trying to break free from the shadow of his father, a renowned gynecologist who wanted him to be a doctor. His first marriage to Isabel Preysler was supposed to be the fairy tale, the Filipino beauty queen, and the rising star with the golden voice. They had 3 children: Chabeli, Julio Jr., and Enrique. The cameras loved them. Spain's magazines couldn't get enough. But behind the flashbulbs, behind the perfect family portraits, something was cracking. Isabel wanted a husband. Julio wanted the world. "I was never home," he would say years later, his voice heavy with something newspapers never captured. "I was chasing something I couldn't name. Every stage, every city, I thought if I sang to enough people, I'd finally feel full." The tours got longer, the absences deeper. Isabel raised 3 children alone in their Madrid mansion, while Julio's records climbed charts across Europe. When he came home, he was a stranger wearing his own face. The arguments started quiet, whispered disappointments in hallways. Then they got louder. By 1978, the silence between them was deafening. The divorce came in 1979, brutal and public. Spain watched their golden couple shatter on the front page of every newspaper. Isabel would later marry Carlos Falcó, then a Spanish minister. She moved on with grace. And Julio? He ran, not toward women, toward oblivion. The 1980s became his wilderness years. City after city, stage after stage, hotel room after hotel room. Paris, Rome, Buenos Aires, New York, Tokyo. The tour schedule read like a map of escape. The number grew, not because he was collecting conquests, but because he was collecting moments where he didn't have to think. Every new face was a distraction from the one that got away. Every whispered name in the dark was a temporary escape from the silence of empty tour buses at 4 a.m. From the phone calls with his children that grew shorter and more awkward with each passing month. The press followed him like sharks sensing blood. A woman in Milan, 2 in Paris, a model in Los Angeles. They counted, they speculated, they invented. Julio stopped denying. What was the point? The myth was more profitable than the truth. "You know what loneliness sounds like?" he once asked an interviewer, who clearly expected bragging, expected stories of champagne and silk sheets. "It sounds like 10,000 people screaming your name and none of them knowing who you really are. It sounds like applause that stops the moment you walk off stage." The journalist didn't print that part. But the numbers kept climbing. By 1983, "To All the Girls I've Loved Before" with Willie Nelson became a worldwide hit. The irony wasn't lost on Julio. Here he was, singing about loving and leaving, and the world ate it up. They wanted the playboy. They wanted the Latin lover with the knowing smile. So he gave them what they wanted, even as the real Julio, the one who missed his children's birthdays, who called his mother crying at 3 a.m., who sometimes forgot which country he was in, disappeared behind the myth. The media didn't care about loneliness. They cared about scandal, about the next affair, about keeping the legend alive. And Julio, exhausted and lost, stopped fighting it. If they wanted a Latin lover, he'd give them one. If they wanted scandal, he'd smile and let them imagine. The number 3,100, 3,000, who was counting, became armor. Better to be the man who loved too many than the man who couldn't hold on to the one that mattered. But here's what they never wrote. In 1985, at a party in Marbella, he met Miranda Rijnsburger. She was Dutch, 20 years younger, working in public relations for a record label. She had blonde hair and blue eyes and absolutely no interest in Julio Iglesias, the legend. When he approached her with his practiced charm, she looked at him like he was any other man at a cocktail party. When he complimented her in that smooth voice that had melted 1,000 hearts, she laughed, not flattered, just amused. When he invited her to dinner, she said maybe. When he called the next day, she didn't answer. For the first time in years, Julio had to try. For the first time in years, he had to be himself. Their courtship wasn't a whirlwind. It was slow, careful, built on something more fragile than passion. Trust. Miranda saw through the playboy exterior. She saw the man who called his children every week and cried when they didn't call back. She saw the performer who was brilliant on stage and terrified off it. She saw someone who'd spent so long running, he'd forgotten what it meant to stand still. They didn't marry immediately. They couldn't. Julio was still healing, still learning that love wasn't about collection or escape. They had their first child together in 1987. Then another. And another. 5 children over 2 decades, each one a testament to commitment he was learning to give. They finally married in 2010, 25 years after they met. 25 years of choosing each other, day after day, without the pressure of vows or contracts. No headlines about conquests during those years, no scandals, just quiet persistence, just the daily work of building something real. Miranda taught me something I'd forgotten. He said in a rare, vulnerable interview in his 60s, that being chosen once, every day, by someone who actually knows you, knows your failures, your fears, your 4 a.m. demons, means more than being wanted by thousands who only know your image. The reporters still asked about the number. Even in his 70s, they wanted the stories, the names, the proof of the legend. Julio would smile, that same magnetic smile that had launched 1,000 magazine covers, and shrug. Maybe it was 3,000. Maybe it was 3. What matters is I stopped counting. What matters is I learned the difference between being desired and being loved. PP. Because that's the truth behind the legend. Strong, the man who supposedly loved 3,100 women, spent 50 years searching for one thing. Not conquest, but connection. Not escape, but home. Not another face in the dark, but one face in the light who stayed. The myth made him immortal in the tabloids. The search made him human in the mirror. And in the end, which story actually mattered? PP. The stages still fill today. His voice, now weathered by age but somehow richer for it, still makes audiences weep. Songs that once felt like seduction now feel like confession. But when the lights go down and the crowds disperse, when the last autograph is signed and the venue empties, Julio Iglesias doesn't go searching anymore. PP. He goes home to Miranda, to their children, to the grandchildren who don't care about his record sales or his legendary numbers. He goes home to the woman who waited long enough to meet the man behind the myth, who loved him not despite his brokenness, but through it. 3,000 women, perhaps, but only one who saw past the number to the heart underneath. Only one who understood that the world's greatest lover was really just a man trying to learn how to love himself. The tabloids still print the legend, but Julio Iglesias finally lives the truth.